Welcome to the Florandorder Time Chat. My guest today is Prosper Taruvinga, and he is a digital marketing strategist and the host of the Online Prosperity Show, which I have had the pleasure of being a guest on. On this show, he helps coaches and consultants build profitable businesses and leave time for afternoon naps. So a man after my own heart. He treats time like it owes him rent, investing it where it multiplies, not where it disappears into endless Zoom calls. So thank you so much for being here.
Christie, I really, really appreciate your time, although you've dragged me out of my day off. So, uh,
Yeah. Tell me a bit about what your week looks like.
absolutely, I really appreciate your time here. So, I run a digital agency, and all we do is help other businesses to stop random acts of marketing. And when people are running their business, they waste a lot of time doing things that are not necessary or don't actually move the needle. So we really help them consolidate their message and really define who their market is and utilize media as a way to reach out to their audiences. So throughout the week, Monday through to Thursday, I also run a podcast where I interview people, and that now creates my way of connecting with the outside world. But I don't work on Fridays, and we happen to be recording on a Friday right now. So the reason why I don't work on Fridays is I leave time to actually work on the business throughout the whole week. If you look at my calendar, I am back to back with calls, and I hardly ever have time to actually work on my particular business. So if you don't designate time throughout the week, guess what? It would have been another Friday, and it would have been another day in the week, and I wouldn't have time. Then that would mean I would have to be doing work over the weekend in order for me to catch up on whatever I have to do for my business. And weekend is time for things that I absolutely love, like drinking whiskey.
Yes. You sound like a huge fan of whiskey. And in earlier conversations we've had, you've described whiskey as a time capsule of hopes and dreams. So I'd love for you to tell us more about that. Can you unpack it for us? And how did that first strike you, that amazing statement about whiskey?
Absolutely. And full disclosure, I'm not an alcoholic. I just I just love the finer things in life. But during the pandemic, so many things were just happening in and around our lives. I'm in Melbourne. We were one of the most locked down states, and I think we actually wrote the blueprint on how to stay calm and sane during lockdown. So as part of the things that we were doing, obviously we couldn't go out to connect with people, and drinking is a pastime for any Australian, who is within their sort of, mental state. And we couldn't go to the gym. We couldn't do just virtually nothing. So I saw slowly my kitchen table was becoming a school, a laundromat, a restaurant, and it was also becoming a boardroom for when I was having meetings with other people and things of that nature. So I wanted something that would sort of break that pattern of the humdrum that was now happening. And when you start searching for things online, guess what? The Google gods or the Facebook ads start showing up with the right things. So there came an ad for Whiskey Club, and I was like, wait a minute, I've never heard of this. And so I joined it. So by joining it, you receive a bottle of whiskey every single month. And usually the bottle is a fine 12-year-old, 16-year-old, or whatever age statement the bottle has. And they write all these nice stories about it, obviously, to sell the whiskey. And, half of the time I don't read it, because by the time I'm gone into the second drum, I'm like, but it's just a story about the origins of the whiskey. So they tell you the date of the actual time they actually started to put the whiskey into a barrel. And if it's a 10-year-old whiskey, it actually has to stay for 10 years in the barrel.
Mm.
All right. So it's not cutting corners or going around and just pretending it's a 10-year-old. No, it literally has, from day one to the day of bottling, it has to stay for 10 years. So does a 16-year-old or a 21-year-old. All right, so what does that mean for me as a marketer or as a digital person or as a business person? All right, what I started looking at is, if somebody is putting in with hopes, dreams into a barrel, locking it up and not opening it up until the time arrives, which is 10 years or 12 years or 13 years, there's a lot of hope in the market that somebody's going to buy that thing, and there's a lot of trust in the process that whiskey is not going to go bad or leak through the barrel, and you've got nothing, and you've waited all this while for you to realize your gains. So as business people, I started likening that to the process of creating. What are we creating today that somebody in 10 years, in 12 years, or in 13 years, or 16 years is going to enjoy with whoever they are around and praise you for having done the work 10 years prior?
Wow, that's powerful.
And yeah, when you start looking at it, you're creating this podcast right now. And if somebody's going to stop by on Spotify, if it's still there in 2034 or 35, and listen to this particular part where we are saying, hey, we are from the past, but hope the future is amazing, they might stop and look around the shop wherever they are in the podcast. But the energy that we have given them at that particular moment is because we sat down, made this happen, and we didn't even know who was going to listen to it in the future. Now, can you imagine if you're doing that every single day of your life? You're just creating assets and systems, processes, and things that will then, first of all, not help other people, but literally liberate you in the future when, you no longer can work, but these assets will be, helping you make money and connect to your audience without you having to repeat yourself. So from a marketing point of view, that's where I sat down with Whisky and I was like, wow, this is a coachable moment. All right. And then on that particular day when I made this discovery, I had one too many and then I forgot about it. Then the week after, I had sat down again with the Whisky, and another realization happened, Christie. I was drinking a 10-year-old whiskey at that particular time, and I sat back and I was like, again, somebody put this 10 years ago, but something also clicked inside of me. I asked myself, where was I 10 years ago? Who was I? What was I doing? And am I still doing the same thing for the same people, getting the same result? So I went back 10 years and then I just started retracing the steps, and I noticed there's a few things that I hoped I would have achieved in the 10 years. And I went and I course corrected then.
Wow.
And then came time to pour in another drum because I was drinking from a Glen fucking glass. So I poured in a second one. And then the emotions started coming in now. Where am I going to be in 10 years? Because then I'm drinking something that somebody made 10 years ago. But have I created something that someone would also enjoy in 10 years? Have I got that forethought in the processes, creations, and the stuff that I'm creating? That's when my podcast was born, Christie.
Wow. That's an amazing story. Oh. It really ties into something I talk about with clients a lot, is being kind to their future selves. So what can we do right now that helps our future self in, writing down detailed notes, or like just getting something out of the way so you don't have to face it on Monday morning. But yeah, I really like that. Like that Whisky is a reminder of 10 years ago, 16 years ago, 21 years ago, someone was putting their efforts into that drink, and now you're enjoying it. And what does that mean for the next 21, 16, 10 years? And yeah, Wow, I've never thought of a drink that way. That is really incredible. Thank you very much.
And then maybe after the third one, I start crying and contemplating
Oh,
all the missed opportunities. But you now have the next, frontier to focus on that. So not a lot of people think of time in that sort of way. And you're absolutely right. Being kind to your future self. You see, because if you create today, you've created assets that will keep banking or giving you bank later on. So like what you're doing right now, if you put this video on YouTube, yes, it might not have that many viewers today or whatever it is, but on a long enough timeline, this video alone will be creating revenue for you and bringing in leads, bringing in people that might not have known or heard about you, in the grand scheme of things. And sometimes you don't necessarily need to be even there. Like when I'm drinking my scotch, the guy who made it in Scotland would never know that I exist, but here I am singing his praises to you now. And I really am hoping that whoever's watching this is not going to think that I'm an alcoholic.
no, yes, all in reason, isn't it? And it just
All in good taste.
all in good taste. Yes, that's right. Yeah, and you're right. It is it's an investment. Everything that we do is an investment in our future and planting seeds, and especially with marketing, there is a lot of frustration around. Well, I just did something and it's not showing things. And I saw a cartoon that was like a farmer putting in some carrots and then the next day ripping them up and going, why aren't you grown yet? And it's like it doesn't work that way. So you're right. It's about letting things stew and give them time to marinate. Yeah.
It takes 21 years to be 21 years old. So half of the time when somebody sees you or listens to this podcast, they don't know the preparation that happened behind the scenes, and they also don't know the post-production process. Yet they're looking at your viewership numbers and saying, oh, I want to be like Flora, or I can present like she does. But not a lot of people understand the gravity of the time and the investment that would have gone into creating something of this magnitude and things of that nature. So it's just one of those things. If people would be, like you say, really patient with themselves and be forgiving of whatever it is that they're creating, time will then be the one thing that then makes up for all the false starts that they might have had getting started.
Yeah, which is a great segue to something else I hear a lot from people is they wish they had more time to read books. They wish they had the opportunity to write a book. So many people feel like they have a book in them. But yeah, writing and reading books is often something that people wish they had more time for. So I know that you read over 150 books last year, it was?
That was last year, yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. So 150 books in a year. So I want to know, like, were they nonfiction, fiction, a mixture? And what does your reading routine look like? Like, how did you manage that?
Fantastic. So, and thank you so much for bringing that up. So in life, there's usually 7 aspects that really constitute a well-lived life. All right. But if you ask me, there's 8 because whiskey is one of them. But the first one is obviously your health, your wealth, your physical being, your mindset, spirituality, and then your vocation. And the 8th thing is pretty much your family and environment and things of that nature, right? So if you really want to be an all-rounder, especially if you're going to be running a business, you really want to train your brain and your physical state as if you're an athlete, okay? Because you're going to be showing up in so many different places and creating something that you don't want to be huffing and puffing by the time you actually get to realize the award. So for me, I make sure that I'm reading a book that helps me in all these aspects. something about health, something about wealth, something about, relationships. And by relationships, I'm talking about relationships with obviously my partner, my kids, my clients, external people, my extended community, and things of that nature. Because there's books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, things of that nature. You know what I mean? So you read that one particular book, and it opens up so many doors to so many things that you never knew would have been possible. Okay, or it's things like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Start with the end in sight. Okay, right now I'm on your show courtesy of the fact that I offered you an opportunity first. You know what I mean? Had that not happened, that reciprocity might not have occurred. So it's small things like that where you start learning how to literally leave, and people start thinking you're lucky. Oh, how does he get on things like that? No, it's because I did stuff before that afforded me that opportunity to be obviously on a show like this talking about whiskey. All right. And and the nice thing about it all is so many people would ask, how do you do 150 books while you are also doing your podcast, running your business, being a dad, and everything else that comes along with it? Now, I employ a method called Pomodoro. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's have a look at this particular scenario. Had I not shown up for this meeting, if the tables are turned, this wouldn't be time lost. I already have a book right next to me. If somebody doesn't show up as we have scheduled for a meeting, I automatically put my Pomodoro timer on, and then I start reading.
Ooh.
All right.
And let's just pause there a moment. What book are you reading?
So this is the AI Leverage. It's building purpose, resilience, and success. I mean, obviously we are already coming into the whole AI side of things, and I want to be ready for what is possible and what people are already writing around the world that we're living in. I don't want to show up fully qualified for a world that no longer exists. Okay, that happened during the pandemic, and but let's get back to the reading side of things. So throughout your whole day, I aim to read for about 4 hours a day. All right.
Wow.
Yes, and I'll show you where I get these 4 hours a day. Okay, so throughout the whole day, there's pockets in between hanging up a phone call and your next call in your meeting. If you really put your Pomodoro in there, you might notice there's a 30-minute slot in there somewhere. So I actually sit down. I don't know if you can see this. So every single day, like this was the 1st of May, I write down non-negotiables of things that I need to actually do. And then I then go in and put a tally every 30 minutes that my ticker goes off. Okay, so I've got it all set up. I just push a button on my little gadget here, and then it starts counting down 30. So that's the Pomodoro counting down 30. Okay, so in between meetings, in between coffee breaks, in between laughs, in between whatever it is, you will find segments and spots that you would actually fill out your whole day with some sort of reading. Okay, so I started off with 2 hours. Now I'm going for 4 hours, which has been consistent. But I read somewhere that Warren Buffett reads for 8 hours a day. Now that's a challenge that I want to go on to, because the guy is making hundreds of millions of dollars, and if he's reading 8 hours a day, we haven't even started. Okay, so it's things like that. When you make time for certain things, you would notice in between whatever you're doing, there's spots that you can actually read. Open the book, make sure it's close by you. After your 30 minutes, leave it, go like that. 2 of those Pomodoros, that's 1 hour. 4 of those, that's 2 hours. And throughout the day, you notice that you actually have gained back some of that time that you thought was wasted. If somebody doesn't show up on a meeting, or if a meeting ends quickly, you're not going to have to fill out that time scrolling through copious amounts of social media or whatever it is. All right. But this is now what I do. Since I'm in the digital space, I literally would read for 25 minutes and then award myself 5 minutes of responding to people on social media or responding to people on email.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? So now my brain knows if I just sit through this 25 minutes, the dopamine is gonna get its hit for the 5 minutes that I'm scrolling through social media. And
Yeah.
if nothing is happening in that particular time, my calendar is empty, start up another 30-minute Pomodoro session and I get a 25-minute warning. And then that's when I sit back, put my tally on, and then I go on social media and I'm participating with the world while also participating with my inner world, and everything is hunky-dory.
You're so right. It is about finding the pockets of time and the discipline, because I recently have restarted the habit of leaving my phone in my office overnight. And what I do when I get up in the mornings is I go straight to my couch and I have a book already prepared, waiting for me. And I make a hot cocoa and I read a chapter of the book, and then I can get up, get ready for the day, and check my phone. Prior to leaving my phone like just out with me or using it as an alarm, it was just taking so much time up for like scrolling. And I was like, oh, I was like my client saying, oh, I have so many books I'd like to read, but I don't have the time and all that. So yeah, it's shifting and finding the time for yourself, making the time for yourself, and yeah, using timers and helping yourself find those slots, make those slots is the best way to actually get back into reading. And it was a little painful to begin with, like for a whole chapter. I was like, oh wow, like this is a little, I'm out of practice. But eventually, yeah, it becomes, your brain becomes wired for it, just like you said. It's so true. That's awesome.
Absolutely. You see, the one thing I think it's athletes that say, just put your sneakers
Yeah.
under your bed or on your door, just so that when you want to, you get up, you see it, your brain starts noticing, wait a minute, okay, I need to be doing something. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And you also need to factor in a reward mechanism. Okay, your brain is always seeking rewards. All right, so you can figure out what sort of reward you want to give yourself. And for me, the reward is scrolling through my LinkedIn. All right, and I also have given it time to, populate the notifications, you know what I mean? Because if you're constantly on there, you actually don't realize, you actually don't get the dopamine effect of what social media actually does, because it's supposed to be a surprise for you, you know what I mean? Because if you're constantly on, the notification comes in, you don't get that a reward. But if you show up and every time there's like 12 notifications, and then you just pretend to be angry at the world. Oh my God, just leave me alone. I'm busy, guys. But then you're busy going, oh my God, 12. Let me get amongst that. You know what I mean? So give yourself time to be pleasantly surprised. All right. And if you give yourself that, your brain will let you do what you're doing, because it knows there's gonna be that excitement a little bit later on. All right. Some people go for chocolate, some people, I'm gonna have to say whiskey again, but hey, it's I don't know if it's
Yeah, no, well said and well explained. And you mentioned that like you're interested in AI and knowing what's coming up, but is that how you decide what book to read next? Is kind of noticing what's on the horizon, or is it people suggesting books, or how do you go about picking the book when there's just so much choice out there?
Yeah, so usually, like I said, there's that mini mini more of the 7 things that really need to be focused on. Okay, and this time around, I'm just literally future proofing my business. All right, because AI is all the rife. So there's so many people that are crying, foul, what do you call it, the crying wolf, and things of that nature. So I needed to understand what this actually means. Yes, we could look for stuff online, but I feel like all the stuff that is on the internet is AI in and of itself anyway. So who's to know if what's on there is biased towards what artificial intelligence has in store? Plus, AI is not just ChatGPT or Cloud or all of those other things. There are other things that they're creating, like AI agents and tools that I also need to be on top of, either to utilize them or to fence myself around so that I can get teams or people that are proficient in creating the future that we're heading towards. Okay, so the person who wrote this book is actually with Microsoft, and they're the guys that are actually baking the AI into everything, right? So you can only imagine if you hear it from the horse's mouth, because most jobs and most careers are going to be a little bit silenced by the advent of AI. So I want to know who to start picking as clients, who to start teaching as clients, and who to actually work with and enhance where they are, because knowing what the future looks like for them. And if I show up to someone who is a consultant and then I say, hey, if we work on this sector of your business, this is what a lot of people are going to be demanding. And if we start creating those assets today, guess what? We're already triggering that 10-year, 5-year thing. And I'm now valuable to the clients that I'm working for. And the way that I also choose what to read is not necessarily for me, but I want to be valuable to the people that I'm going to be working with. So let's say it's in the accounting field, or it's in the buyer's agents, mortgage broking sort of field. I look at certain things that nobody would think of. All right. So one of the things that I picked up from a book that I now help other buyers advocates or buyers agents with is this sort of thing. And mortgage brokers, if they're listening to this, they should pay particular attention, because I'm not going to repeat this ever again. All right. So every time somebody buys a house, there's one thing that happens in their life. First of all, they have a housewarming party. And then second of all, they start looking now at things to do around their neighborhood in order for them to actually be comfortable in that particular property. So a mortgage broker can actually partner with the furniture company near them, the florist near them, the car salesperson near them, because that is now going to be the next logical step for that particular client. So can you imagine if you can help your clients like a concierge? So instead of you just helping them with a mortgage, you now really show them what else is happening around the area. The next time they're looking for a mortgage broker, who are they going to go to? So that's one. Two, on their housewarming party, who are the people that are actually invited to this particular environment? It's other people that are also searching for that result, which is a house or whatever investment that they would have done. So why don't mortgage brokers or buyers advocates get, first of all, an invitation to parties like that? Because that's where all your clients, future clients, are going to be. And second of all, even if it's not an invitation, but if they can have their business cards there, or send a delivery or a platter that can be used as decoration on that particular day, and in there is your business cards, you're fishing in the right sea, where people who are in and around the house are envious of what has just happened, and they're ripe for inquiring. So it's something I would have never used in the digital marketing space, but it's something that works in another industry. And I came across it in another book. So you can only imagine now that if I show up to a buyer's agent or a mortgage broker with such an idea, they would absolutely think I'm a genius. And then we just sit around, and then I show them what whiskey I like drinking, and then we just have a party, and we all get drunk and forget I even mentioned anything. So hey, that's
You're right. Reading, it does open you up to so many different ideas and so many different ways of life. And I just finished a book recently about how business owners can work within school hours. And I don't have kids, but it's important for me to know the situation that many of my clients find themselves in. So, and it gives you a different different perspective and different tips and tricks, and there's things you walk away with. So yeah.
You know what you could do with that sort of information?
Mm-hmm.
You could actually, if let's say it's a mom who has to go and pick up her kids, and then you say, you know what, can I call you between 3 and 3:15? I know you're going to be driving to pick up your kids and you're not going to be busy. That information alone will put you in such a whole different avenue with your clients that you wouldn't have thought, because then if she's not prepared for that meeting, if you call her during that time, she's not going to want to talk to you, because you never know if the kids are going to be in the car. And if you already know, and then you say, hey Sam, hey Judy, and then the kids are like, Mom, yeah, that alone will put you way ahead of any other consultant or coach that's just trying to sell them something.
Yeah,
if you've taken particular attention to their lifestyle and you care.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Well, this has been an amazing chat, and I love your energy, love your vibe, and I just want to know, and your whiskey, you were drinking whiskey. What's your day off? You're allowed. Just wondering, for 2025, are you aiming for more than 150 books, or will you be satisfied with having read 150 books again?
You see, I'm actually looking at the pile of books that I read, and I think it's going way past that. But there's also something that happens when you start reading. Okay, so when you start reading, usually books are within the range of 12 chapters. And the first 3 chapters are about the person, yada, yada, yada. Oh my God, this is my story. Please feel sorry for me. And then the middle parts usually are about the reason why you bought the book. And then the last beats are usually about, now that you know I've got ideas or whatever it is, please buy from me, yada, yada, yada. So if you now know what to look for in a book, you could literally skim through, and then you can see all the timeline of when they're talking about their journey. Sometimes I'm not really interested in other people's journeys. Not that I wasn't before, but half of the time it's, you're right, I get to experience them in my podcast, okay, because that's when I take people on that journey. So I already know what that part really looks like. So I only have a certain amount of book pages that I can read throughout the book, and then I just hit those pages where the real process, the idea, and the reason why they wrote that book. And now I'm going through so many books just because I've figured out that pattern. But you need to have read so many books in order for you to get to that level. And especially books that have been written as nonfiction, they come with that part 1, part 2, part 3 sort of set up, and then you can just go through it and then figure out which is the ones that you're going to read. So 2025, I'm probably going to be, I'll take a photo for you, but I think we're sitting at maybe over 150 right now, because all the books that I've read, I put them in a corner there.
Wow.
And then so
you are putting my 13 to shame. I've just had a look on Goodreads, and yes, 13 is what I have completed.
Those are 13 really good books. Don't you measure somebody else's. my journey, I came from Africa, and I have no other qualifications besides drinking whiskey. All right, so let me tell you something. This is, if you're looking right now and you're watching right now, this is all the trauma of me now wanting to play catch up. So if you, exactly. So you would have gone to school, done your university or whatever it is. I had none of that stuff. All right, so this is me playing catch up, and whiskey may be involved, but you know what? It's just
oh, amazing. Does the whiskey help you with the reading, or does it hamper your reading?
Oh no, don't mix alcohol.
Don't mix reading and
yes, because you start internalizing the story. Your brain doesn't know whether you're going through stuff, emotions, or you are actually experiencing real life whatever is going on in that book. You know what I mean? And my kids have seen me cry so many times, and I think it's time I sort of stop doing that. So yeah, don't mix.
Don't
It's like drinking and driving, you know. It's
Yeah.
like in your brain. Okay.
Oh, well, there's so many stories to uncover, even just in that nugget that you've just left us there with about your childhood. So I hope to talk to you again very soon. Thank you.
We'll have to make time for that.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.